5, 4, 3. This Hangout on Air is live. Hello, everybody. It is hot, hot, hot in LA today. It is 80 degrees in my office today as I'm recording, and that is just going to be awesome. I do have a fan, but I think we're doing okay. So I don't think it's too loud. We've got it off axis, hopefully. And welcome to Alpha Geek Radio. We are live and direct on Alpha Geek Radio. If anybody's listening to Alpha Geek Radio, there is an Indiegogo campaign for the Alpha Geek Media team to upgrade the servers that are providing you this fine show. So if you can go over to Indiegogo and look for Alpha Geek Media, I think you would probably find it. So go check that out. It is time for a roll call in the chat room. We've got Donald Burr and Steve and Brett and Kevin and Dan, and Grim is back again. Ghiblis, my daughter, is here tonight. Yay! And Kirshen, who's been gone for a long time. Mish Doherty from far, far away. And let's see, we got Steve in there again. And let's see, it's still winter for Grim. Grim is in Australia, I think. I think that's right. All right, let's go ahead and do a little check of the audio here. Let's see how we're going. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right, let me know if you guys can hear this. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right, how's that audio playback? It sounds really quiet to me, but Steve says it's okay.
Sounded fine to me.
Ooh, 93 outside in San Diego. Oh, geez. Activities next to the AC unit. So this is good. I think a fine, is this a Corona, Steve? What am I drinking?
That is a Pacifico.
Pacifico. Yum.
Sorry, Ghiblis.
Well, what are you drinking? Steve, remember, you're still on video. I haven't cut you off yet. What are you drinking? Hold up your, let's see, I can make you come up, can't I?
Firestone Pale 31. It's a pale ale.
Oh, your video looks really choppy.
Choppy, huh?
Choppy. It's probably because you're not holding up a Ballast Point beer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should probably get this show on the road. All right. I'm going to cut you off. Or you want to cut yourself off, dear?
I'm cutting myself.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Let's go ahead and start off the show because I am going to be talking a lot tonight. Chit Chat was only 35 minutes with Robert Carter, so it's going to be all me all the time. Triple IPA. All right. Itchy ear. You're a fan of the IPAs, Dan? Lindsay will talk IPAs all day to you. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, August 16th, 2015, and this is show number 536. Well, I got a ton of great geeky stuff to talk about today, but before we get started, I wanted to give you a critical update about our discussion on Pluto with Stephen Bart from a couple weeks ago. Don Squires wrote in explaining that the three of us had chosen the wrong pronunciation when we called Pluto's moon Charon. He wrote, "Sorry to be a pedant, but the name of Pluto's moon, Charon, is pronounced as if it started with the letter K. I'll start pronouncing it that way for the rest of his letter. Charon is the name of a mythological character who ferried souls across the river Styx to Hades, the realm of Pluto. The CH of Charon is the English transliteration of the Greek letter chi, or X. English words from Greek words containing chi are almost always pronounced with a K sound. For example, Christ, chaos, chasm, etc. Well, I do appreciate that, and I would never call a NosillaCast a pedant. Well, actually, I probably would. But anyway, Steve came back with a really interesting article on Wired explaining the pronunciation. I put a link in the show notes to the article. It's entitled, "Really, Here's How You Pronounce Charon, Probably." I want you to read the whole thing because it's pretty hilarious. But the reason we've chosen to go with the SH version of Charon is because Jim Christie, who discovered in the moon in 1978, had promised his wife Charlene he would name the object after her. And that's why some people say it with an SH, but you really do need to read the whole article to get a kick out of the very detailed explanation of all the different ways that you can say the name of Pluto's moon. Again, thank you very much for writing in, Don. Really appreciate the feedback. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and get started on the next topic here. Typing on a Mac or a PC with a real keyboard is second nature to most of us, but typing on the glass screens of our phones and tablets is still pretty annoying. You know, we get by, but no one actually likes the experience. We feel inefficient when we're typing on them, shortening our thoughts and being less clear because it's so much harder to type. Now, Bluetooth keyboards are cool, but most of them have the drawback of being connected to only one device at a time. And switching Bluetooth between devices is a nightmare none of us wants to endure. Imagine if you could sit at your Mac or PC and use a single keyboard with a dial to switch between your computer and your phone and your tablet. It'd be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Well, Logitech has a keyboard that might solve this problem for you. It's the K480 Bluetooth multi-device keyboard. We're just going to call it the K480 most of the time. I picked one of these up from Amazon for only $40, thanks to George from Tulsa, posting in our deals section on the Google Plus community. Actually, I'm going to show you guys one of the benefits of coming to the live show. This is the keyboard. So for the sighted amongst you, it's got a dial over here on this side, and then this slot is kind of rubberized. It's a real nice way to stand up your iPad or Android phone or whatever you got. And then it's a regular keyboard, and you'll hear me talk about it. It's kind of thick, and it's really heavy. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be talking about here. All right. Oh, save this early? Guess I could. All right. Let me cut that there and get rid of that. All right, save. The first thing I noticed about the Logitech K480 is that it's definitely not something you're just going to throw in your kit bag when you dash out of the house, because it's heavy. It weighs in at 1 pound, 12 ounces. I believe that's 800 grams to the rest of you. The K480 has a really nice rubberized slot above the keys where you can stand up your phone, your tablet, or both at the same time, and they sit at a real nice angle. This makes it really slick to use while working. On the left side of the keyboard, there's a dial to select up to 3 devices. On the right side are 2 buttons for pairing your devices. The button on the left is for Android, Windows, or Chrome OS devices, and the other switch is for Mac and iOS devices. I thought it was interesting that they require different buttons, but it worked just fine. Setup was really simple. The K480 comes with 2 AAA batteries, which I thought that was kind of swell of them to throw those in, and a simple slider switch on the bottom of the keyboard to turn on the device, and it was ready for setup. I put the dial on position 1, pushed the pairing button for Mac/iOS, paired it in Bluetooth settings on my Mac, and it worked instantly. Didn't have to type in a code or anything like that. Worked immediately. I moved the dial to position 2, pushed the pairing button again, and opened Bluetooth on my iPhone, and boom, connected. Nothing else to do. I repeated the 3rd time for my iPad, and I was in business on all 3 devices. I can now switch around between them seamlessly and type in any program on any of these 3 devices. There are some downsides to this keyboard beyond the fact that it's really, really heavy. Did I mention that? It's not going to slide off your desk, that's for sure. The keys feel okay, and I got used to them fairly quickly, but the keys are loud. And they're not just clicky, they're just loud. There's no way to use this keyboard discreetly. I really need to be able to look things up discreetly during recording sessions, plus this keyboard would be very annoying to anyone else who might be in the room with me. The second problem is only an issue for Mac people. Evidently, and I can't believe I never noticed this before, the function and control buttons are swapped between Macs and PCs. Now, that might not be a huge deal for most Mac people if you don't use these keys very often, and I suppose if you made this your primary keyboard, you'd get used to it, but it pretty much drives me nuts. I use Command-Control-Shift-4 to capture screenshots to the clipboard all the time, and they kept dumping out on my desktop instead of going into the clipboard, and I was just confused. I couldn't figure out why. Finally realized the keys were switched, so I was hitting Function when I wanted Control. Again, perhaps you'll be able to get used to it, or if you don't use Control and Function very often, it wouldn't bother you. With the continuity functions of Yosemite and iOS 8.4, I don't find I need to use my iOS devices to respond to things nearly as often, and I can use my Mac using my Mac to write text messages, for example. But if you've got a mixed device household, or you're a big fan of WhatsApp, which for some inane reason doesn't have a desktop or even a web interface for the Mac, you might want to check out the Logitech K480 Bluetooth multi-device keyboard. That is, if you don't mind a loud keyboard. There were a lot of typos in that article. Why didn't anybody tell me about that? Oh, thank you, Steve. All right, we got a lot of people coming in on Alpha Geek Radio. Steve's telling me in the background. Again, anybody on Alpha Geek Radio who wants to see some new servers put in place, go over to Indiegogo.com and look up the Alpha Geek Media push they're doing over there. They need to upgrade the video server, so it'd be great if you guys could go help out. All right, Tyson snuck in after curfew, and whoever Mobile is, hello, Mobile. I assume somebody in the chat room will tell Mobile how to change their chat room. Let's see what else I've missed. Oh yeah. Dan says he's got the Logitech. It's pretty loud though, isn't it, Dan? And you like the keys? I did get used to them. At first I didn't like them, but after a while I started liking it. But so loud, I couldn't quite deal with that. All right. Did anybody who didn't get to see the keyboard, if Tyson and Mobile, that's the keyboard we were just talking about, the K480. This thing is a sticker that you can peel off. So that's it. All righty. I hope that's loud enough. All righty. Here we go. Well, after I posted that review of the Logitech K480 keyboard, I got a comment from Richard where he said he uses the Mac app Type to Phone to let him type on all of his devices right from his Mac. I had completely forgotten about this delightful little app, so it was great that he reminded me. I actually bought it back when I reviewed it ages ago. I think it was a couple years ago, but it's definitely worth mentioning again. Type to Phone, and that's type the number 2 phone, is $10 in the Mac App Store, and it's from huda.com. I hadn't run it in ages. Gee, I like the way I pronounce that. Huda. I actually bought it. Actually, start this over. All right. After I posted this review that I just finished reading to you about, no, I don't want to say it that way. After I posted the review of the Logic, okay, come on. Sometimes.
5 is a charm.
Stop it, Steve. Go away now. Okay, save. Gonna get it. After I posted my review of the Logitech K480 keyboard over on podfeet.com, I got a comment from Richard where he said he uses the Mac app Type to Phone to let him type on all of his devices right from his Mac. I'd completely forgotten about this delightful little app. I bought it about 2 years ago when I reviewed it, and it is definitely worth mentioning it again. Type to Phone is $10, a lot less than that keyboard, in the Mac App Store from huda.com, and it's type the number 2 phone, by the way. I hadn't run it in ages, like I said, but it couldn't have been easier to use. When you first launch it, it gives you instructions on how to pair your device with your Mac by going into Bluetooth settings. From there, you'll see your Mac, as long as Bluetooth discoverability is enabled, of course. Select your Mac from the iOS device and you're ready to go. Open an app on iOS and type away. It's kind of counterintuitive to think about this, right? You're on your iPhone, but you're looking at your Mac as a Bluetooth device, like becomes a Bluetooth keyboard. Sort of mind twisty to think about it that way. Well, I wanted to see how it worked if I had multiple devices attached, so that's where it gets really tricky. So I added both my iPhone and my iPad, and I got a nice little pull down within Type to Phone that lets me choose on which device I wanted my typing to appear. I can easily switch back and forth between the two devices, and if I just simply click outside of Type to Phone, all typing reverts back to my Mac. Type to Phone has an interesting feature. It shows you in giant text every character you're typing, including showing characters for spacebar and delete. It's a little distracting if you're typing long form because it's kind of scrolling by like a ticker tape thing, if anybody still knows what ticker tape is. Anyway, so if you don't like that, there's a little pencil at the bottom left of the screen on the Mac of the Type to Phone screen, and it lets you type a bunch of stuff and then send it to your device with one click. That way you don't have to watch it typing. Type to Phone even lets you type on your Apple TV, which can be really nice if you're searching or have to type in a darn password. For some reason, Netflix has decided to ask me for my password every couple of days, and my delightful son chose a password that is possibly the most annoying password you could type using that little dinky remote. All this time, I could have been using Type to Phone to do it instead of that awful little remote. Now, they don't say that Type to Phone can do this next thing, but you can even pair another Mac with your Mac and type from one Mac to another. I'm not sure why you'd want to do this, but maybe just for continuity, you'd like to use the same keyboard and have a big command center. Well, I set that up. As I was typing this out, I had it set up. I had my MacBook, my iPhone, my 27-inch display, my iPad, my MacBook Pro, all in this array of my command center, and I was controlling them all from one keyboard. I think I need to go outside and play pretty soon. This indoor radiation is getting to me. Well, if you're a slider and need to work on Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS, the Logitech keyboard is probably a better choice for typing to multiple devices. But if you live in the Apple ecosphere, check out Type to Phone in the Mac App Store. And don't forget, App Store. And
Did you forget?
no, nobody's reading my articles for typos. Actually,
I thought I was banished.
Well, yeah, you don't do it for typos. You edit content. I said again at the very end in my article, okay, and it'll type on your Apple TV too. All right, who did mobile say they are?
That's Rose.
Oh, it is.
She's having tech issues.
Uh-oh.
We have to give her some sympathy. She's on a PC. She's listening with the app and watching on the PC.
Oh, Rose, you poor thing. That's terrible. Just that's appalling. I feel for you. All right. That's good. All right. I might save. Here we go. Chris Ashley and his minions from the SMR podcast are a bad influence on me. Their excitement about Windows 10 got me wanting to try it too. I'm a member of their Facebook group and they encouraged me to give it a try and explained that you can actually run it for free even if you don't have a previous license through the Microsoft Insiders program. Well, of course, I wasn't going to go out and buy a Windows 10 machine, and I've never really liked the idea of dual booting a Mac with Boot Camp, so I decided to do it by creating a virtual machine inside my Mac. If you haven't ever played with virtual machines, it's really fun. It's a way of installing an operating system in parallel with your main operating system, so you can switch back and forth between them real time instead of having to reboot to go back and forth. I started by downloading VirtualBox from Oracle, the open source virtual machine software. In my scenario, OS X would be my host operating system, and Windows 10 would be the guest operating system. To install an OS inside a virtual machine application like VirtualBox, or there's some other great paid-for apps, you either need a real CD, or you can download the guest operating system as an ISO file. An ISO file is essentially a disk image of a CD. I downloaded Windows 10 from Microsoft, and I was ready to go. But I kind of made a few mistakes along the way. When you create a virtual machine, you have to allow it to use some of the RAM and disk of your real machine. If you have only 4 gigabytes of real RAM, you wouldn't want to give the guest OS 4 gigabytes, or your host operating system, OS X in this case, wouldn't have anything left to run on. You also have to allocate a certain amount of disk space to give the guest OS some room to run and install applications. Now, you would think with a 1 terabyte internal drive on my MacBook Pro, I'd have gobs of free space, but because of all those photos I keep yapping about and doodling around with other stuff, and, well, there's this little audio thing I do that creates a lot of files, I am constantly looking for ways to save space. The good news is these days, virtual machine applications allow you to specify an upper limit of how much disk to take up, but it'll only expand to that size if it really needs it. When I ran through the installation of Windows 10 inside VirtualBox the first time, I really goofed up on the allocation of disk space. I forget what was recommended, but I didn't want to give it that much, so I decided what it could do with only 4 gigabytes of disk. Not only did I disobey the recommendation, I didn't realize the field was expecting megabytes, not gigabytes. So when I typed in 4, I wasn't giving it 4 gigabytes, I was giving it 4 megabytes. So yeah, that didn't really work out too well. And, I couldn't figure out how to increase the disk allocation size, so I just deleted the virtual machine and I started over again. This time I gave the virtual machine 8 gigabytes of disk, which I figured that's got to be more than enough, even though they recommended more than that. I was able to install Windows 10 just fine, and up it came. It was very exciting. But when I tried to install Skype, I got a warning saying it actually had negative disk space, which was interesting and looked like I was in trouble. Now, at this point, I could have just deleted the virtual machine again and installed it for a third time, and it would have taken maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes if I round up. So, of course, that's not what I did. I went on a hunt for a way to increase the disk space inside the virtual machine software. I mentioned this to Steve, and he just shook his head at me saying, why do you do this to yourself? Well, that's when things got super geeky and fun. I found a video online explaining how to increase the size of a virtual machine, and I started to follow along. The first step is to simply increase the size of the file that's the virtual disk. It's designated by the extension VDI, and I'm guessing that stands for virtual disk image. You do it by through the command line, and of course, since I'm super comfortable in the terminal after all that time with Bart, I've pretty much tamed it and all. I followed the instructions without any problem, increasing the size of the disk to 30 gigabytes. But wait, there's more. At this point, we've effectively got a 30 gigabyte disk, but it's got an 8 gigabyte partition inside of that disk, and that's all that Windows knows about. So we have to repartition it so that Windows can take advantage of the entire 30 gig. The tutorial I found used an open source tool called gparted to do the repartitioning so that Windows can take advantage of that entire disk. Gparted comes with a Linux operating system called Ubuntu, but we're not running Ubuntu, right? We're running Windows. Gparted is available by itself too, but only runs under Linux. So now it's going to be fun. Linux distributions, which are called distros by the cool kids, are often available on what's called a live CD. If you make a live CD, you can throw that into your computer, boot from it, and use Linux without ever installing it. It's a pretty cool way to experiment with a new operating system to see if you really like it. You can download an ISO file that is a live CD, and I put that in quotes because, of course, we're not using any physical media here at all. All right, I need to get the name of the guy who corrected me on this because this guy gave me a hard time for something I'm about to say. Give me one moment. Hold, please. Where was this guy? Oh, it was a while ago. Was it him? Was it him? No, it wasn't Mika. No. It wasn't Dan. There it is, Bart Dorsey. All right. Bart Dorsey corrected me. What? Mark is here? Oh, hi, Mark. I was going to make fun of you and I forgot. Well, I don't want to make fun of you if you're not here. So, are you still at the game?
They actually won, and he's back. It was a blowout, 4-0.
Was that soccer? What was he watching?
Of course.
Oh,
probably some Seattle team.
All right. Let me listen to what I just finished saying. And I put that in quotes because, of course, we're not using any physical media here at all. That was pretty stuttery. Let's cut that off. Tab. Have I missed anything exciting other than Mark? Ah! I hate it when I do that. Deleted the wrong part. Cut that off. Wish you guys could see what I was doing. I need to get it back to where you can see everything. It's more fun, I think. It's not soccer. Sorry, Rose.
Sorry, Rose. Football.
Football. We both said it at the same time. That's nice, Steve. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Unfortunately, Steve figured out how to bring himself in and out of the live show here so he can jump in like that.
It's great.
Bye-bye. All right. What did I just say? Okay, pay attention. You can download a nice... Cut that. No, you did it wrong again. Oh, it's just not reacting to me. That's why. It's not my bad. All right, save. You can download an ISO that is a live CD, and I put that in quotes because, of course, we're not using any physical media here. Now, I suppose I could have mounted the live CD ISO of Ubuntu under OS X and then repartitioned the Windows virtual disk image file. What kind of challenge would that be? I decided to try to open a hole in the space-time continuum instead. I launched VirtualBox, started up the Windows 10 virtual machine, and from in there, I mounted the live CD of Ubuntu. Then I had to tell the virtual machine to reboot, but boot from the virtual CD disk image. That means, sort of, I was running Linux inside of Windows inside of OS X. It was awesome. Now, I do need to take an interlude here. Bart Dorsey corrected me on Twitter when I said I was running Linux inside of Windows inside of OS X. Technically, I was running Linux inside of a virtual machine that was designed for Windows 10, but Windows isn't really running because the machine has been booted from this live CD. So technically, it was really Linux inside of a Windows virtual machine that wasn't running Windows inside of OS 10. But I had to give a shout out to Bart because Bart Dorsey because he was technically correct there. Anyway, I posted a screenshot on Facebook of this feat I had achieved, and as I hope, Nightwise, king of the online sliders community, wrote, "So proud right now, tears up." Well, it turns out to be a good thing that he was paying attention because when I ran gparted inside Linux, inside Windows 10, inside OS 10, I got an error message. I know, shocking, right? I thought that would work fine. Well, I posted it back to Nightwise, and he noticed that buried in the error message, it said, "NTFS is inconsistent. Run checkdisk/F and reboot twice." Now, he said this was a sign that somehow the Windows 10 disk structure was messed up. It's inexplicable how that happened, right? Anyway, and these instructions were to be run over on the Windows side as checkdisk /C:/F. Without Nightwise, I never would have known to do that. I ran from the command line in Windows 10, rebooted to the live CD of Ubuntu, ran gparted without failure this time, dragged the repartitioning slider so the virtual disk image was now a full 30 gigabytes, rebooted back to Windows 10 within the virtual machine, and Bob's your uncle. I was back in business with Windows 10 running with 30 gigabytes. Well, I have to confess that I spent so much time goofing around with this that I haven't had much time to play with Windows 10 yet, other than install Skype so that I could say hi to the SMR podcast minions. I did tweet out what I'd done, and I got a huge kick out of the responses. Sam Powell and Tom Dixon said I made their heads dizzy. Rob Workman said that I made my very own virtual Matryoshka doll. And several people, including Martine, suggested that I had fallen into the movie Inception. My favorite response was about Steve not understanding why I would go through this much trouble. David Roth posted an awesome clip from Big Bang Theory that totally explains why I did this. Let's see. How much time have we got? Have we got a little time to goof around here? Because I think what I want to try to do.
We have all the time.
We do?
Yep.
All right. What I want to try to do is.
By the way, where does Bob's my uncle come from?
I don't know. Bob's your uncle, not Bob's my
No.
uncle. What?
Oh boy, who's on third? No, first.
Just the fact that your uncle's name happens to be Bob. That's not what Bob's your uncle comes from. Okay, here it is.
Okay, someone in the chat room, tell us where that comes from, because I can't quite place it.
Can't quite or can't at all?
Well, it's on the tip of my brain.
Uh-huh. Right there.
Yeah.
Sharp as a tack there, aren't you? Okay, wait a minute. This may take me a second to find this. SMR Podcast Fans, that's where it was, where I posted. This can be hard to find. And I got to think, how am I going to capture the audio if I just had a tool to hijack the audio? I got to find my post in the SMR podcast thing. This is a really chatty little group over here. I may not be able to find it, you guys.
Want me to go look for that, or do you need it right now?
If you can find it.
Let me go look.
Shoot, I meant to do this ahead of time to steal this. I'm not finding my... I'm back to... How far back? August 13th. Now I've missed it. Hello, Switcher Mark. I said hi to you when you came in.
Wait, what's the subject again?
This was when I posted that I put Windows inside of Linux.
Right.
Maybe that was on my page.
I thought you commented on someone else's comment. Oh,
Is
no.
that what it was?
No, I think it was your page.
No. No. I don't think it is. I'm not finding it there. Uh-oh, this may not work, you guys. Oh, here it is. Here it is. There was 6 comments. There it is. Found it. Okay. All right. So now I've got the audio file. All right. Now I need to figure out how I gotta create a new gonna create a new blank session, or I could do record a applications audio. I'll do web audio. There we go. From a web browser. And I'll take it from Chrome, right? Is that Chrome over here? Yeah, it's Chrome. Switch that to Chrome. This'll never work. Actually, I should show you guys my desktop while I'm trying to do this, because that would be more interesting if you guys won't be nearly as bored. So let's go here. Okay, share. So remind me to go back. So now I've got Chrome here, and I just created a new, where is it? Where is it? There it is. There it is. Okay. I'm going to bring this in here. So I'm creating another, in Audio Hijack, I'm creating another recording thing. So I'm going to hijack the audio. Why isn't Chrome in the list? There it is, Google Chrome. And I'm going to send that. I'm not going to do a recorder. I am going to make the output device simply, yeah, I don't need this. Well, I guess let me do this. Let me get rid of this. And let me just make the output device whatever my input device is. What is my input device to GarageBand? My input device to GarageBand, I'll have to change that for a second. That's going to be tricky. So I'm going to make my input device be Can't make it Soundflower 2 channel. That would get too confusing. How about if I set it to Soundflower 2? Okay, this might never work. But let's find out if it does. Okay, so I'm going to start recording here. And I'm going to change the input over here, over in GarageBand. Go to Preferences. I probably should have saved before I did this. So audio input, we're going to make that Soundflower 64 channel. Okay, and no audio is flowing. See how there's nothing between Google Chrome and Soundflower? You can see, yeah, we're doing some sausage. That's right, Kevin. So right across here, you can see nothing's happening there. But if I bring this up now and I hit play, I think, see, I'm going to have to, change audio driver over here. Yes. Don't let me forget to put it back to my mic because it'll get really confusing in a minute. Okay, so, all right, let's see if this works. So I have to start recording here, and I may have to, let me put this on its own track. We're going to save, duplicate that, and we'll put it on this track, and I'm going to start recording here, and I'm already recording there, and we hit play here. Is it working? I think it's working. Can you see the red coming out?
It's playing, but no audio.
I can't hear you, Steve. And I'm not going to be able to tell when it's done with the part I wanted to capture, but because I can't hear it either. So I think you guys can just you guys can still hear me. Is that right, Steve?
We can hear you, but not the video
I can't hear you. That's interesting.
You've changed your audio settings.
How you're talking, Steve, but I can't hear you. Maybe they can.
You changed your audio settings.
I know, but I don't want to mess it up right in the middle of this.
That's fine.
Okay, good. I'm going to cut this off. Okay, I think that's done. Okay, let me stop this. Okay, there, I just heard it. Okay. All right. I should be able to hear you now, Steve.
How about now?
Yes.
Are you going to get a takedown with playing this?
Probably. It wasn't taken down from YouTube. Why would it be taken down? It's really distorted picture. All right. Let me see how this sounds. Trouble. David Roth posted an awesome clip from Big Bang Theory that totally explains why I did this.
Hey, the X10s are online.
Gentlemen, I am now about to send a
It's playing, but no audio. Oh, shoot.
Our local ISP racing.
Wait, you can't hear it?
I can, but my voice came through while you were recording.
Yeah, so but no, I'm not recording right now. I'm not recording. I'm playing.
No, I'm saying as you just played that back, I heard both the audio from the YouTube, from the Big Bang YouTube, and I heard my voice, which was recorded earlier. So my voice came through onto the recording.
No, I don't think it did.
Well, I just heard it as you played it back.
Okay,
let me play it again.
I am now about to send a
It's playing, but no audio.
Laptop.
Oh, crap. Okay, so
I have to be quiet.
I did everything right. Nobody can see. Steve.
All right, I'll mute myself.
Jeez. Okay, so I did everything right, but Steve talked over it. Okay, we're going to have to do this again.
Well, you could have piped the audio a little differently.
Would you shut up?
Okay, I'm muting.
Okay, go away. Okay, here we go. Yes, here we go. All right, so what was the order? Do I still have this set to, let me make sure. GarageBand is still set. Let's see what GarageBand preferences are still set. Soundflower 64 channel. How did Steve get piped in there? That's really weird. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start this, and I'm going to start this. Okay, now you can talk, Steve. Oh, no, I didn't shoot. We're going to have to do it again. Okay,
you didn't record?
This is really hilarious.
Did you not record?
I can't stop him anymore, Lindsay. I'm gonna have to start again because I forgot to hit record over here.
So tell your listeners
over here.
Tell your listeners they're not going to hear anything.
Okay,
getting a little
stop
confused.
talking. Because I can't hear you and you're messing up the recording. So shh.
All right, but tell them, warn them.
I can't hear you, but I can tell you're talking because I hear you through the other room. Be quiet. People are going to think this is not a professional recording studio. Now be quiet. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now
So
we better have it.
It was everything.
Now you should be able to hear it when I play this back. Here we go. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Entire thing, but we'll hear it.
Allison.
Okay. The X10s are online.
Gentlemen, I am now about to send a signal from this laptop through our local ISP, racing down fiber optic cable at the speed of light to San Francisco, bouncing off a satellite in geosynchronous orbit to Lisbon, Portugal, where the data packets will be handed off the submerged transatlantic cables terminating in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and transferred across the continent via microwave relays back to our ISP and the X10 receiver attached to this lamp.
Look at me! Look at me! I've got goosebumps.
Are we ready on the stereo?
Go for stereo.
All right. I think I'll cut it.
Look at me! Look at me! I've got goosebumps.
All right. Let's see how that worked. Let me see if I actually caught that ending.
Look at me! I've got goosebumps.
All right.
I've got goosebumps.
All right. Okay. That was totally worth it, Steve. Are you suggesting this wasn't worth it? I'm going to take it.
The X10s are online.
Gentlemen,
Okay. Here we go. I think it's hilarious. You said we had time, Steve. By the way, I wonder, why can't I hear you now?
Because you've changed your audio settings. Yes. They are different right now.
But I didn't change that. Can you guys hear Steve?
They can hear me. I don't think you can. How are you responding to me? You're hearing me through the room?
Honey, I don't think you quite understand. I can't hear you. I can tell you're talking. I can go back to not fooling around with this. There we go. So I can tell you're talking, but I can't hear. But I changed the way the audio is piping to GarageBand. Let me stop this and see if I can hear you. Maybe I can hear him then. All right. I think it's just fine if I can't hear you. I don't see a problem with this. This was hilarious. Okay, you can't hear him on iOS anymore? Okay, now we can hear him.
All right.
I can. I don't think you could ever hear him on iOS though. Okay, let me now change what I was going to say there at the ending. I said that I had fallen into the movie Inception. My favorite response was about Steve not understanding why I would go through this much trouble. David Roth posted an awesome clip from Big Bang Theory that totally explains why I did this.
Al?
What?
I heard a repeat there. Did you just do a little playback?
I just repeated. Yeah. Okay. Trouble. David Roth posted an awesome clip from Big Bang Theory that totally explains why I did this.
Gentlemen, I am now about to send a signal from this laptop through our local ISP, racing down fiber optic cable at the speed of light to San Francisco, bouncing off a satellite in geosynchronous orbit to Lisbon, Portugal, where the data packets will be handed off to submerged transatlantic cables terminating in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and transferred across the continent via microwave relays back to our ISP and the X10 receiver attached to this lamp.
Look at me! Look at me! I've got goosebumps.
I'm going to fix that.
Maybe fade the end.
You know what? You're getting awfully bossy in here.
No, just suggestions for show improvement.
Yeah, if I fade it now, I've got to go back to the beginning and do it.
All right. If it's too much work for your listeners, that's okay.
Dear.
Anyway, I've got goosebumps.
That's what I wanted, to cut it right at goosebumps. There we go.
Anyway, I've got goosebumps.
It's important stuff to get this just right. Wow, that's short.
Goosebumps.
See, that's that weird sound at the end. How if I right there?
Goosebumps.
There we go. All right. And I can't start talking. All right, here we go. So see, Steve, that's exactly why I had to do it. Even the Big Bang Theory people get it, right? All right, this week, Don McAllister posted an interesting article on his blog about his thoughts after a couple of months into using the new 12-inch MacBook. Like me, he loves how thin and light it is, but he had a few problems with it that he just couldn't get past. The main thing was that he kept hoping he'd get used to the new scissor keyboard that it was introduced on this Mac, but after 10 weeks, he still hated it. He found that his typos increased dramatically on the new Mac. He also found that he would get errant jumping around of his insertion point, so that when he was typing along, he'd suddenly be typing in the wrong place. Last week, when I was writing up my post about photos after the honeymoon is over, I was planning to write a honeymoon is over post about the 12-inch MacBook. I was going to say that as much as I tried to love the keyboard, I hated it too. I was going to say that my typos went up dramatically with it versus the older chiclet style keyboard on the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Airs and even on the Apple Bluetooth keyboard. I was also going to tell you that I noticed from time to time that the insertion point would jump occasionally to random locations. But I had a bigger problem than that, and it's one that every once in a while, maybe on the order of like once a week, one of the keys would actually get stuck on the keyboard. I could picture the little scissor mechanism getting all jammed up inside. If I pushed extra hard, I'd hear a click, and then the key would move freely again. Now, this was tricky to prove to anyone because it wasn't ever the same key, and I couldn't just leave one key non-functional for the 3 days it takes to get to a Gigi's bar appointment at the Apple store, so I pretty much lived with it for several weeks. Finally, last week, the tab key got stuck. Turns out you can pretty much live without a tab key, so I didn't fix it by pushing real hard on it. Instead, I got a Genius Bar appointment, and I learned to use gestures to switch apps instead of Command-Tab, and that held me on until I had time for the appointment. Off, Steve and I trotted to the Apple store on Tuesday night. I don't know if you've been to an Apple store recently, but a while back, Angela made everyone go without name tags. Steve and I both hate it, and every employee we talk to hates it too. Nameless help is so much less personal. I told the guy I worked with that because of there not being name tags, but I still want to call him by his first name, I have now chosen to call all Apple employees I deal with by the name Kevin. He responded by saying he's going to call all customers Betty. I thought that was fair. The happy ending to the story is that Kevin gave me a new MacBook. I knew from past experience being one of the bleeding edgers that Apple wants to get early defective units back because it helps them diagnose problems in a product line so they can immediately feed the improvements back to design and manufacturing. Later in a product's lifecycle, they've pretty much worked out any process bugs they can, and so they can fix your computer instead of replacing it. The genius, Kevin, said I was absolutely right about that process. But here's the best part of the story. The keyboard on the replacement MacBook is much, much, much better than the original one. I think I had a defective unit from day one. It was always hard to type on that one, but so much easier on the new one that I can't believe I put up with it for all that time. As of this point in time, I have not yet once seen the cursor insertion point jump around either. I'm going to have to wait and see if that's that rare but persistent bug comes back. So if you've got a 12-inch MacBook and the keyboard doesn't feel good to you, trot over to the store and try out some of the floor models and see if their keyboards aren't better. I wish I'd done that a long time ago. So now I have a thin, light, and reasonably snappy laptop with a great keyboard. It's perfect for travel, and in fact, I use it around the house at least as often as I use my 15-inch MacBook Pro. Nowadays, it seems like a huge chore to carry that beast out to the back porch for casual computing time, so the MacBook is what I reach for first, and of course, it's what I take whenever I leave the house. I guess a good question would be whether I would recommend it as a main Mac to someone. The answer is yes. as long as the person is a normal user. And by normal, I mean they like to surf the web, listen to music, do email, nothing super high-end like audio or video editing or gaming. The one thing that surprised me about the 12-inch MacBook, though, is how awful the webcam is on this machine. Most Macs have a 720p camera, but the MacBook has a 480p camera. They must have gotten it out of the junk bin because in low light, it looks as bad as typical PC built-in cameras. Grainy does not begin to describe it. I mean, tons and tons of noise. It's terrible. If you have good lighting, it's not too bad, but sitting on the couch in the evening at my house, I look positively ghoulish on this camera. It's a compromise I wish I didn't have to make, but since I have an iPhone, an iPad, and another Mac I can use, I guess I can live with it and do FaceTime on other machines. Bottom line is that I'm super happy with the 12-inch MacBook, and I'm delighted to have it part of my digital life, especially now that I got one with a good keyboard. All right. I have been yapping for a long time. What did I miss? I think the video is way, way behind the chat, Mark says.
Nuclear John joined us for a minute or two, and then he promptly left.
Okay.
I think it may
Do I have to say hi to him at the end, or do you think he was a mistake?
I think he was. I just hope he didn't have his finger on the trigger.
Yeah, is Don now a verb? Yeah, I have told Don about Kevin, and I've been writing back and forth because I posted on his in his Google Plus community, he posted his article or the blog post. And so I commented over there on what happened, and he hasn't had a chance to take his back yet. He's actually ordered a 13-inch MacBook Pro because he was so irritated by the keyboard. So I suggested he take it in and take a look. Are you sure it's the camera? Ooh, Mark, that's not good. In case you guys want to see, let's see, what's the URL of that? Let me see. Probably gonna wreck something here. Let's find ghoulish. Where's that picture? Here it is. I'll just let you guys see how bad that camera is. This is typical lighting in my family room when I would be just working away. Well, I guess I didn't do too much content. That's 21 minutes. I thought I'd have too much. And we're about to go into the ad, so looks okay to me. Oh, when did Nurse sneak in? Nurse, you're late to class. You're buying the beers next time. You know the rules. All right. Last week during the Clarify ad segment, I told you that it hadn't worked quite properly for me and that I had sent a note off to support to figure out what the problem was. I'm glad to report back that both problems I encountered were my own fault. You know how much it bothers me to admit that. When you use Clarify to post to your blog, one of the great advantages is that you can edit the tutorial later and then just repost to the same page without doing any fiddling. It just re-uploads and fixes everything and makes it all the same post. Unfortunately, when I edited a tutorial right before last week's show, the tutorial seemed to have lost the connection to the blog post. In fact, it was actually a blog page. I learned via a back and forth discussion with support that I had made an illogical step. It wasn't Clarify doing something wrong. I had created the original tutorial. I saved it to Evernote, which is where you're allowed to keep your files, and that's where I always keep mine. And then I uploaded it to my WordPress site, and then I quit Clarify. Now, that seems logical, but think about the order of those steps. I never saved the information about WordPress back into Evernote. So when I opened it up out of Evernote a few months later, how would Clarify have possibly known about the WordPress upload? It's like I had, saved a file to Dropbox, changed it, and never hit save again. Of course, it wouldn't know about it. So that was definitely my bad. And I was really glad to hear that because it's a lot easier to fix me than it is to fix software. The other problem I had was with my tutorial on trip mode that I had written. Evernote kept telling me that the note content was malformed and wouldn't let me save it. Well, in this case, I think Evernote was just being dumb, but luckily support for Clarify still helped me out and pointed out that Evernote doesn't like links that don't start with http://. I often just write podfeet.com instead of http://podfeet.com because that works everywhere but in Evernote. Again, not a problem with Clarify, but still, support from Clarify bailed me out and solved all of my problems. If you'd like to try out Clarify, do go over and check out the free trial over at clarify-it.com. Okay, I said bungled that enough time. If you'd like to try out... If you'd like to check out Clarify to make tutorials on your own, check out the free trial over at clarify-it.com. And you know who to tell them that you sent you over there, right? I don't know, it's kind of clumsy, but trail should be trial. Find trail. Trail should be trial. That's why I stumbled on that. Stop it, Steve. Now what are you talking about?
Well, there was a question.
Oh,
Did Don take back his MacBook, his 12-inch?
No, he hasn't yet. He's going to, I suggested that he do that, but he has not yet done that.
So he does want one. It's not performing well for him.
I don't understand what you're saying. He had a MacBook. He used it. He didn't like it, so he bought a MacBook Pro.
But he didn't like it because of the reasons that could be just a bad unit or just
Correct.
the design in general.
Correct. No. It was because of those two big problems.
Okay. Yeah.
The jumping around of the cursor and the bad keyboard. So I've been trying to get. He just hasn't had time to get into the store, I guess. I don't know if he's done it yet. I assume I'll hear back from him if he does. All right. We took a walk on the wild side there. I let because Steve was chatting with me. I dropped in the audio and didn't have Kevin take off his ears. All right, let's take a listen now. MacOQ does. Oh yeah, Brett, feels a lot different. It's amazing how good it feels now, though. I mean, I thought it was really. I wanted to like it, but one of the things I've learned is if you admit that you don't like something, you won't like it at all. So I kind of wasn't admitting that I didn't like it. And then once I realized how bad it was, I was like, man, I really did like that. All right, let's hear how this transition goes. Get ready for symbols check, Steve. And you know who to tell them that you say. Don't record, Steve. You're not on mute. Okay. And you know who to tell them that you sent you over there, right? Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond, and I have the great pleasure to sound a little long to me. What do you think, Steve?
I was going to say the opposite.
What?
Not enough symbol die out.
Oh, you're wrong.
Play it again, Sam.
Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond, and I have the great pleasure to welcome back to the show the tech doctor, Dr. Robert Carter. How are you doing today, Robert?
Well, Allison, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It was so fun to get to hang out with you at MacStock this year out in Chicago. That was really great, and I hope you don't mind too much me embarrassing you by calling you out from the stage and telling everybody to go over and yak with you.
You didn't embarrass me at all, Allison. In fact, I very much appreciate you're doing that, and the fact that you did that has really precipitated some thinking on my part about several things regarding podcasting and where I want to go with it, and just regarding a lifelong issue that I have experienced as a person who is blind, and that is how to help others become comfortable with me, in the sense that I know that the reality is, in the world that we live in, blindness, at least total blindness, which is what I am, is a fairly low incidence disability in our population.
So people don't run into it that often, so they don't know how to react?
People don't run into it that often. And even if they do run into it, it's fairly rare for a sighted person to have had the experience of really knowing a blind person well enough to have been able to really get it, to really put in perspective just how much that blindness is or isn't, a part of that person's day-to-day life in terms of what it prevents them from accomplishing, for example.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I run into blind people every day of the week, it seems. I have wondered what caused that, but it seems like, I mean, a third of my friends seem to be blind now. So I don't know how that happened, but I don't believe I actually get what you feel and what it's like for you either.
Well, I think you do, and I can't explain why it is that you do to a large degree. There are certain people, you being one of them, who just don't seem to have the same kind of barriers up regarding blindness.
I think I make fun of you guys as much as I make fun of people who are sighted.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, that you have, I think, embraced this whole idea of accessibility, and you've done demos blindfolded, and you've really put yourself out there in that sense. But that's not always, or not even typically, the case, I don't think, because one of the real issues that, All
right, I'm going to stop here. He is he's awfully nice to me in this interview. I don't know.
You want to stop before it got ugly?
Stop before it got too embarrassing. You're really chatty tonight, dear. What is?
Well, Nolan has encouraged me to be chatty.
Oh, is Nolan in there too?
He's listening.
Oh, he is? Oh no. Is Ghibli's writing down what he's saying? I don't think I have the right lights on. Doesn't it look awfully blown out here? Why is it so bright over here,
Yes,
Steve?
it does. Do you need a light check?
Well, you didn't do the lights. Maybe it's because the door's open.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Light coming in from that door. You got it.
Drinking? He's drinking a, what'd you say you were drinking? Rose wanted to know.
I don't know if I could admit it.
Yeah, Lindsay is upset with him.
Firestone Pale 31, which is their pale ale.
So is it an IPA?
No.
Wow, the show's under an hour. That's crazy talk.
Mainstream, or
because I don't know anything about that. I want to learn about that. But as a general technologist, hey, Renee, you want to be on the show? Sure.
Right.
What you should do in a few months is come up with a topic you want to talk about. We never even mentioned that you're blind.
Right. Sounds like a plan.
All right. So, Robert, if people wanted to follow you, check out your podcast, how would they find you?
Well, the podcast is at DR.
And soon.
Thanks for having me, Allison.
All right. Okay, there we go. Did I put the end there? There we go. Review. Whee! Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay, maybe I have to have the right application up. There we go. That was a really, really interesting angle of a conversation. What's going on? Oh, that's what I did. Never mind. Okay. I wish you guys could see what I'm seeing because it would make more sense when I babble about these things. I got to figure out how to get that going again. That was a really, really interesting discussion with Robert, and I enjoyed noodling out the different ways this could work. And I think we're well on our way to making some progress in this regard. So it's pretty fun stuff. But that's going to wind us up for this week. Many thanks to our sponsor for helping to pay the bills, the makers of Clarify over at clarify-it.com. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter @podfeet. Check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community too. Like I said, every week, man, I'm always posting questions in there. That's where I go to get help. There's a great thing in there this week where Linda Goucher posts a question, posts a clarification of her question, posts a correction to herself, and then she posts the answer to the question. So we all got a big kick out of that because she pretty much took care of the whole thing just on her own. But it's a great place to go to find people smarter than me to get answers. So that's why I post over there. Anyway, again, that's over at podfeet.com/Google+. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, it was super fun to have Kirshen back after a long absence. She's an awfully busy girl, and it was really fun to have everybody else in there. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Yay. All righty. And so now ears off, Kevin. Mid-light dialogue in. Okay, ears back on, Kevin. How come nobody else has their ears fall off? And stay subscribed.
He's got bigger ones.
Okay, right when I'm hitting the end. And stay subscribed. There you go. Sure, why not, Kirshen? See, Grim, you remember when you were new, it was all exciting. Now you're old news. You're a regular here. I think it's fun to be a regular. All right, up here. So we do all these, and we're gonna uncheck this one, and we're gonna go like this. No, is that the wrong way? There we go. And we go back to the beginning. You button there. Select all, unselect that, move that out until it looks about right. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, August 16th, 2015, and this is show number 536. I got a ton of, move it out a little bit. Donald, you're writing to me while I'm doing the show. Show number 536. I got a, there we go. All right, guys, I think we are set. It is 6:01, and I didn't want to keep you guys late after school. It was a fun crowd. Glad you guys could come in today. I had a lot of fun. Nice to see you, Giblies. Love to you and Nolan. Dodger. Actually, we should invite Lindsay into the hangout sometime. All right, I am going to call the show. Let's see, Steve had some little note to me. I have no idea what his note to me means, but I think we are good to go. Steve, do you want to say goodbye to the audience now that you're Mr. Chatty Cathy tonight?
Goodbye, audience.
I'm going to put you up on screen. Maybe I can get Google to choose your picture as the hangout picture and confuse everybody. All right. Actually, your video looks terrible still.
A little choppy?
Just kind of soft. You don't have any lights on you, do you?
No. Here.
You don't care about video.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we lost any chance to be a professional show with all the yakking you did on the show today. So, all right, guys, I am going to cut us off. This is going to be the end of, let's see, I think I'll say goodbye to Alpha Geek Radio. And again, go to Indiegogo and do a search for Alpha Geek Media and watch Todd Whitehead's video there and contribute if you can to help with the servers. Give him $1 or something. I don't know how much.
Very close to his goal.
Is he?
Yeah.
All right. Great.
3 more days.
3 more days. 3 more days. Make it happen. And goodbye to the people on the app. Goodbye. Goodbye. All right. And the live hangout is going off the air. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.